Welcome to the Civic Circus podcast. I am Spencer Duncan.
And I'm Marisol Marcelo.
Let's start the show.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, so thank you for being here.
Of course.
So you either are getting married or you just got married?
I'm getting married.
Okay,
Yes,
is that soon?
November
yeah.
22nd.
So that is
So
soon.
so
All right, that's a
excited.
choice. You're kind of young, but that's a choice. I waited until I was 40 to get married,
Okay.
which was totally the right choice for me. And I know I'm a better husband because I waited. Not that I was like crazy. Just everyone out there, I wasn't like a crazy man, but also I'm sure I'm a better husband because I was 40. So when people get married young, I'm like, what? What are you doing? Give it a little time. But I get it.
Yes, we're excited. It'll be so perfect. I am excited for this new season, and it'll be great.
So are you getting here in town or where?
Yes,
you
here in town at St. Joseph Catholic Church.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, that'll be nice.
with our friends, family, and God, and it's just so important to
I
us.
got married in the Capitol building.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, that's a fun fact. Being a lobbyist over there, it's always fun to tell
Kind of
people
fitting,
I got married in
honestly.
here. Well, you know, I'm my wife's second husband, so she was kind of like, I've done this once. You know, we can and our families had different churches, and so it was
Okay.
different denominations. So we were like, where can we do it? And so I told her, I said, how about the Capitol? And of course, she was like, she grew up here, and she's like, I couldn't even tell you the last time I've been in the
Oh my
Capitol. And I
goodness.
said, it's pretty, I promise. And so we took her there, and she was like, oh, sure. And so I had to jump through a lot of hoops to get permission because it's not impossible, but it was hard. But yeah, so that's always my fun fact.
Aw,
Is I got
that's
married in the
beautiful.
Capitol. So, you know, but it's always nice. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So all right. So tell people. Well, I always say who you are, but you already said your name. So but what you do, which is the horrible way to just say, what do you do in Topeka? That's where we'll start off, and we'll work our way from
Okay.
there.
Okay, so I work at Vernon Medina Funeral Home, and that's here in Topeka, Kansas. Family owned and operated. We've been around since 1916.
That's
So
crazy.
it's been a long time. I love it there. Absolutely love every single day. I'm also a big part of Fiesta Topeka. So
Yep.
I've been on the Fiesta Topeka committee for 3 years.
Yeah.
3 to 4 years. I can't quite remember.
Right.
And I am one of the publicity chairs,
Yeah.
along with Renee Franklin. She's my co-chair, and I just love doing it with her.
So you grew up in Topeka?
So
right?
I grew up in Topeka,
Okay.
not originally from Topeka, from Illinois, but Topeka is home.
So how did you end up in Topeka?
So
On your own, or were you brought here by other people?
By
who-
my family, yeah.
who
I
made
was-
you come
yes,
with
I was
them?
brought here by my family. We moved here when I believe I was 4.
Okay, so
I
you,
attended school here,
Yeah.
and just I love Topeka. Topeka's home, and we recently purchased a home. So
you're
it's
staying
very
here for
exciting,
sure.
and it's a great place to raise your family and retire.
so you are someone who basically grew up here, even though you aren't
Yes.
native to Topeka. You
Yes.
almost are. You're close enough.
Close enough.
And so then you went to Washburn. Is that
So I actually attended for grade school. I went to Mater Day and
Okay.
Holy Family, and then I did Hayden Catholic High School.
oh, okay?
And then for college, I went to Washburn, and then I finished up a little bit at UMKC.
Okay, but and the reason I asked that is we have a lot of folks who grow up here. Just your
Mm-hmm.
story, except it ends with I went to Washburn and then I left Topeka. Right. I mean, that's one of the things we're working on is how do we keep people here? But you didn't leave Topeka. Your
No,
story,
so
your
actually
story
it was during
continues with.
COVID.
Okay.
So I did it online.
Okay.
So yes.
Yeah, but your story still continues. You stayed in Topeka. Like even though you'd grown up here, you went here, you didn't leave. So why? Why? I mean, I always ask people, why did you say I'm going to stay in this town and not take my education and get out of here?
So my family is here in Topeka, which is big
Yeah.
for me. Wanted to stay close to them. Leaving Topeka was never even a thought in my mind. I work here. It's a great place that I feel that I belong here, and lots of opportunities here. So I love Topeka.
Well, I think that's important because really it's a problem that we just can't keep people, especially once they get that education. They're like, thanks, Washburn. Bye. And that's something we're trying to work on too is there's 5,000 students at Washburn, and not all of them from this area, but a lot of them are, and some come here, and they all say the same thing. I loved my time at Washburn. I love the city of Topeka. And then I was like, but you left. You know? So we got to figure out how to capture them
Absolutely.
and bring them back in. So growing up, was the Fiesta a part of your
So I actually
life?
danced for the Fiesta.
Oh, okay.
I was in a group called Ballet Folklorico de Topeka.
Yep.
They're still around.
I saw them dance
Yes.
this past week. I was at the
They are
Kansas
so
Inclusion
good.
Conference,
You should join.
and they were the opener. I don't think they want me. I don't.
They're great. They're great. I always enjoy, seeing them perform, whether that's at Fiesta or at any other event, because they perform all year round.
Yeah.
So I started dancing with them, and I've attended the fiesta, as just a visitor. As I got older, I had the opportunity to become part of the planning committee. And so that's when everything, it's definitely looking at it a little bit differently, right?
Yeah.
So with being the publicity of it, there's a lot that goes into it.
I'm sure.
We've been around for over 90 years,
Yeah.
right? But I'm sure you're aware there was a name change a couple
There
years
was.
ago.
Yeah, it was a little
That was
controversial.
a big talk.
Yeah,
It
there was. I
was.
remember
And
that.
I always tell people, different name, sure, and it's changed multiple names throughout
the 90
history.
years. Yeah.
But it's always been the same mission,
Right.
and that's what's important. You could call it whatever you want. I
Right.
don't care. But the mission at the end of the day is raising funds for Holy Family Catholic School, Our Lady of Guadalupe Catholic Church, and it's incredible to see how the community just comes together to
Yeah.
support. And it's a long process,
I'm sure it's all
Fiesta-
year, right?
yes,
it's the old once it ends,
all
we start the
year.
next one.
Absolutely. So it's not just that 5 days in July. The 5 days in July is like the big festival, of course,
Yeah.
but there's candidate food sales leading up to it. We've had the mini Jamaica down in Evergy Plaza that kind of kicks off Fiesta. What else is there?
And that's relative.
5K.
Has that? I guess that took a different form.
Mhm.
But did they always do that?
So that's also
Or
something
is that
a little
fairly
bit
new?
That
Okay,
is
because I don't
something a
remember
little
it
bit
from
new.
many
Mhm.
years ago, but I remember
Yes.
the last couple of years or this year.
Yes. So it's something a little bit newer. And then, of course, the parade. And there's just so many events, so many ways to get involved. So I love it. It's one of my favorite times of
I
year.
went down and helped out in the kitchen.
I
and
saw
it's hard.
you.
It's hard
It is
work.
hard work.
I mean, my brother and I ran a wine and beer garden at the
Okay.
state fair, where we also sold food for 15 years. So
Okay.
I'm like, oh, this will
You
be
had some
fine.
background,
I've got
yeah.
this. I know it. And then I remembered, oh, this is why I sold that thing. This is hard work in that kitchen, because
It
food is a
is.
big deal there. And
It is.
they threw me in at the window too, so I wasn't just
Okay.
in the back making stuff. I had to actually do the hard work.
Yes.
Take the tickets and do this. So I'm glad they put me to work. But,
Yeah, well,
but it
thank
was
you for
fun. It was a
doing
good
that.
time, and I
Yeah.
hope people out there know that it's actually not that hard. I mean, it's totally manageable, but it was a
Mhm.
good time, and you get to meet a lot of
Yeah.
great people. And
Volunteers are the backbone of the fiesta, right? It takes so many to put on this incredible event, whether you're in the kitchen or at a booth selling something, the beer booth, security. And it's just an incredible way for people to get involved. You tell us, like, I don't want to be outside. Okay, perfect. We'll find somewhere inside
Yeah.
for you. And, all different levels and skill sets, but thanks for helping out in the kitchen.
well, and I know, as someone who grew up here,
Mhm.
and we used to come down to it when I was a kid, my
Mhm.
parents would bring me down, but I'm amazed at how many people haven't been to it that I still talk to, who've lived here
know.
for a long time, and they'll, yeah, I mean to go every year, and I
Uh-huh.
don't make it. I'm like, it's every year, and it's fine. What do you mean you haven't made it down there? And so I always try to encourage people,
Yes.
like, go, because once you, I think it intimidates people, not the event itself, but parking, and I think once people do
Mhm.
it, they realize how easy it is.
Exactly.
But it's the thought of it before they get there. They're like, oh, I hear it's complicated, and it's not.
Well,
but
you wanna know a
just got to do
secret?
it. Yeah.
I publicize it, so it's not a secret. But there's a shuttle for Fiesta
Which has
Topeka.
been great.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. And
It's
I think
been
once people,
great.
so yeah, I always tell people, you've overwhelmed your own brain,
Uh-huh.
what it is. Then if once you do it and you realize where things are at and how easy it is to maneuver,
Exactly.
it's not a big deal for
Exactly.
people. But yeah, we got to get these people who've been here forever
Get 'em out
to engage and go to Fiesta. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so you're going to continue for a while on the
I
board?
think
or-
so, yes. I enjoy it. I mean, like anything, there comes challenges.
Yeah.
Whether if, this year, one of the challenges we faced was the Brainerd Bridge was closed.
Right.
And people went crazy.
I know. How am I going to get there? Well,
But
you can still get
actually,
there.
Yes, the Brainerd Bridge was actually blocked off at a certain time in years past every
Oh.
night of Fiesta, just to help with the safety and everything. So, I mean,
Yeah.
of course, there's some obstacles that we'll have, and it's just how we
Sure.
overcome them and work as a team. We have an incredible committee. People that are there, someone that's just in charge of the royalty candidates, someone that's just in charge of vendors, security, all these different, aspects that come into making Fiesta Topeka what it is and successful.
So how does that process work in terms of, there's a lot of things that never need to change to some degree because they're the old standards, and that's why people
Absolutely.
go there, and 90 years later they're
Yep.
doing the same version of it. But what's the process then, and who looks at, okay, we need to evolve every year. It's something, or at
Absolutely.
least over time,
Mhm.
so that it's not the same and
That's
people
a
feel
great
different.
question.
How does that process work, and who
Yeah.
gets input into that?
Yeah, so our big motto is a legacy of pride, passion, and culture.
Mm.
Of course, there's tradition that goes into that as well. And I think that's kind of where we got all the feedback with that name change, because it was a tradition,
Yeah.
right? I think as time goes on, and life evolves and things evolve, we just keep up with the times, right? One of the big reasons we changed it to Fiesta Topeka is because it's for everyone.
Yeah.
So there's Fiesta Hispania Kansas City, Fiesta San Antonio, all these different places that have their own, but Fiesta Topeka, just taking pride in that as a Topekan, it's so important.
Yeah.
Everyone comes from all over, but
Well, they do,
know,
and it's lots of people come from different backgrounds.
Different backgrounds, and it brings a lot of people to Topeka that maybe don't come.
Yeah.
A big part of it is family. Families that are rooted in Oakland, they hold their family reunions during Fiesta time. It was incredible this year. My fiance's family, someone in his family, had their wedding during Fiesta.
Really? That's
yeah.
great.
So it was on like the main strip, and of course it was so joyful, and it was just incredible. Like, what a perfect time to get married.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right? But just thinking how we can, collaborate and not necessarily change, but I guess add new things.
Right. I mean, there's always, everything has to have some kind of evolution.
Absolutely.
So it gives
But,
something
there's
new,
nothing
but
wrong with
also retain the
tradition, too.
tradition. Right. That's the balance.
Yeah.
It's always the balance between keeping the tradition and things people really enjoy, but also recognizing as we go, generations want something a little different. And just a little twist on the old tradition. So, yeah, balancing that's probably pretty tough.
It is.
Yeah.
It can be.
Well, right.
lots of different opinions.
Well, of course. What? There's
Like
lots of opinions in this world? I haven't heard that.
So...
Well, no, that's awesome. So let's talk about the funeral home business for a minute.
Because we can touch on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's a fascinating. I always joke that the things that will always be in business are toilet paper and funeral homes, right? Things that we will need, no matter how crazy the world gets. We always need, and alcohol. People are always going to drink alcohol. That's the other one. So
you can have those at funerals.
As long as you got alcohol, toilet paper, and funeral. But I think it's such an important piece of everybody's, I know this sounds life at some point, because everybody will experience that and they will all have family members who go through it. And so having that experience of people who are there to be supportive and walk you through the process and understand what you're going through, it makes all the difference in the world. It does, because that if that's it's already a terrible time. And if that experience is bad, that's something you hold on to forever through a tough time. But if it's a good experience, as good as it can be in that time, it makes all the difference in the world. So I'm just curious how you approach that and how you've gotten into that and approach that as you've kind of learned parts of that.
Yeah, I'd love to share. So like I said previously, I'm with Brennan Mathena Funeral Home. We're at 6th and Taylor, so centrally located here in Topeka. Been there since 1916. And something that makes us different than a lot of other funeral homes in Topeka is that we're locally owned, family owned and operated. And that means a lot, I think, to people. We're not your, corporate. We're not an imitation.
Not the wholesale.
Not the wholesale. And there's only one of us here in Topeka. Doing my job every day, it's an act of service. And I'm so blessed that I'm able to do it. I work with the most incredible people who also just have a heart of service. When meeting with families, if they've experienced loss recently or whether, they're planning to take care of their final plan so their family doesn't have to. It's a situation that, is very delicate, right? Just being a friend to them, having a conversation with them as friends, not, not coming off intimidating or anything like that. So it's important that we build their trust. And over time, we'll see, maybe they've lost dad, then mom's passing, they'll come back to us. And unfortunately, their children, whatever the case may be, but we build that trust. We are able to meet some of the most amazing people as well and hear their stories.
Oh, I bet.
Just see how people love, I think that's so important.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. So did that come naturally to you? That approach to people? Because sometimes it doesn't. You have to learn these things through life. Like, I learned how to sit with people better. It didn't come now. Other people it's never been an issue. It was part of my DNA. And
it's definitely not a job for everyone, right? You don't learn in school how to be compassionate, right? I think it just comes to you, right? Every family that we meet with is different. There's always different circumstances, different situations, people that have passed, naturally, or maybe there is a tragic event that occurred. Something that we always see is that the community comes together regardless to support. Their family comes together to support, So as far as, compassion and all those things, I think it came pretty naturally. But there's always room to improve.
Well,
to
sure,
improve
yeah,
food.
but
So-
but it helps if you have some of it naturally.
It
Start trying to
does.
force it. I really want to do this, but oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's not working out for me.
It does. And, just when families put their trust in us, it means the world
yeah,
that we're able to care for their loved one.
yeah, because like I said, I think it's a critical
Mhm.
component of everybody's life eventually.
It
That
is,
piece of it.
yeah.
And we don't
And-
think about it until we have to think about it, but
Exactly.
we're all going to need to think about it.
And, pre-planning is something that not a lot of people think about.
They don't
right?
want to.
They
Look,
don't want to.
I'm gonna tell you right now. God bless my mother who recently passed. In fact, her funeral's coming up.
Mhm.
She never wanted to talk about it.
Really?
My dad is the opposite. He's been
Mhm.
talking about it since I was a kid. It's gonna
Oh my
happen, guys. Be
goodness.
ready. Very
He's
different
ready.
approaches. But and so as we've had to do her planning, and it's like, well, I think this is what she wanted. I think so.
Yeah.
You do the best, and we kind of get it. I said at one point, I said, well, sometimes not making decisions is a way to say I'm going to let you folks make decisions, right?
Exactly.
But it is a different dynamic when you have people who just don't want to deal with it at all. And I'm like, it's
Absolutely.
going to happen. We don't want
Mhm.
to talk about it, but it's going to happen versus having it all done. And you're like, guys, I already figured it out. You just have to show up. I've
Yeah.
already done everything
it's,
for
it's
you.
one of the most beautiful gifts you can give your loved ones
Yeah.
is, taking care of the pre-planning. Maybe not everything, but
No,
just,
but the
the
basics,
basics.
yeah.
Absolutely. It gives them a good starting point. It does. And,
Yeah.
people don't want to think about it, and that's okay.
Right.
But when you're ready, we're here for
Yeah.
you. And it's just a conversation.
No, I think that's great
Mhm.
because I think it's critical to every community, and we're glad to have that in this community
Mhm.
because we're a big enough town that we do, but there's other communities where they don't have that at all.
Mhm.
Get what you
Yeah.
get. So,
Exactly.
so it's nice to have choices. and
Exactly.
know that it's out there.
Yes.
So you bought a house here. That's a good
Yes.
step. That means you're committed
We
to
are
Topeka
committed.
and
Yes.
you're staying here. That's good. We need to keep
We've
people here.
searched
But
for forever.
yeah, wow,
It was a long search. Shout out to our
Yeah.
realtors, the Davis, Jimmy, and Debbie Davis. They were
Yeah.
so patient with us, and we looked. I don't even ever want to go back to that time. We looked for so long.
So my wife and I moved 10 years ago, and we weren't in a hurry to move, right?
Okay.
So we had the advantage of where we were living, we liked. We
Mhm.
were over by the Armory, but there was no sidewalks. We had a kid. It was a
Mhm.
pass-through street, so the traffic was crazy. So we're like, if we can find a house, great. We had no timeline, which thankfully we didn't because
Mhm.
we looked for a very long time till we finally found something in this market, and that was 10 years ago.
Wow.
And so it hasn't gotten better. The scary number I just heard, and I'm going to be off by a few numbers
Okay.
here, but around prior to COVID, on an average day in Topeka, if you wanted to buy a house, we had 700 to 800 listings.
Wow.
Today, that number is usually around 200 or less because our market.
Mhm.
The good news of that means it's because people have wanted to move into Topeka and we're filling out.
Exactly.
The bad news means we don't have enough houses. We've got to build houses to take
Mhm.
care of the market so that when you go look for a house, you have more than, oh, we finally found one after months of horrible looking. And it's not even that all the houses or neighborhoods are bad.
Mhm.
It's that we have a lot of older homes that they just need work, which
Something
is
we ran into
fine.
as well,
But people
yes.
want full market value. And then you're like, okay, I get that you want every dollar your house is technically worth, but I got to go put a bunch of money into it after I buy it. So why I can't afford that? I can only afford what and that's the problem we have in this market. So
I would agree with that. I'm no realtor, but I agree with
no,
that.
but you're the
Yeah,
shopper,
yeah,
and
I
that's
agree
that's
with
what
that.
matters. It's the person looking for the
Yeah,
homes that's
and
trying to figure it out.
When we saw this home go on the market, we walked in. It checked every single box.
Yeah.
I'm like, it was an answered prayer.
Yeah.
It was such a blessing.
You're like,
so
finally.
yes, so now we're all moved in and all boxes are mostly unpacked. It was a good
Yeah.
chance to declutter too.
Yeah,
so,
right.
but
Yeah,
it
everyone
was
says
just
that. and
Perfect and
You'll reclutter.
Yes.
Don't worry.
good to grow into as well. So
I feel like we got rid of a lot of stuff when we moved 10 years ago, and somehow we have accumulated stuff all back. I'm like, how did this happen? We were shedding things. And we made a pledge, and we failed. So
it's okay.
now we have stuff. I blame the kid. It's all the kid stuff. That's who I'm blaming. So that's good. Yeah, and we have a lot of great neighborhoods in this
We
community,
do.
and I think you realize that too when you're looking for a house because
Mhm.
you'll hear things about a neighborhood like, oh, don't live there, and then you go there and go, this is a great neighborhood.
Yeah.
What are people talking about? They obviously haven't been to that neighborhood
Mhm.
for a while. So how are you going to grow? I guess growing the Fiesta, right? Because it's very successful
Mhm.
already, but I do think there's room for roping in more people across the city
Absolutely.
and giving it more exposure.
Mhm.
So what's the plan? How are you going to do that?
That's a
It's-
great question. So
Figure it all out right now.
It takes a committee.
Yeah.
It does. There's lots of us, ways to grow, and we kind of touched on this earlier. Evolving. There's always opportunity for people to come and voice their opinions, right? Things that, they think we can add or things that maybe they didn't love. Everyone has an opinion. And we're here to listen too. So as for adding things, I'm not quite sure right now, how we would add anything.
Yeah,
new.
well, I don't know what to add. I think it's more just expose. I think it's exposing it to other parts of town.
Absolutely.
I'm amazed. I say this a lot. I'm amazed at how many people who've lived here a long time, who live on the west side, never hardly go over, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take that long to get across Topeka.
It doesn't.
So when you're like, "Oh, have you eaten over here?"
But depending on
I
construction,
never
but-
go over there. You're like, "What do you mean? What do you mean over there? It's 12 minutes now, down the road, across town to go eat over there or go check out this store." And everyone just lives in their own little. And to some degree,
Absolutely.
that's fine on a day-to-day basis. But I'm amazed when I say, how long you live here? 15 years. You've never been to this part of North Topeka? No, I never go over there. And I think that's part of the issue is when you have these events that are locked into a neighborhood, which is great, it's then convincing those people who never migrate across town
Of
one way or the other.
course.
Come on, it's okay.
Yeah.
Just this is the chance to go over there.
So one of our big pushes is social media. Publicity in general. So we have a great partnership with WIBW. So we're on the red couch all the time with Melissa. I think that's where I saw
think
you
so,
recently too.
Yeah.
And then also with Visit Topeka, Great Topeka Partnership, they really help push out the socials and also just, experiences, people sharing their experiences. We do have a Facebook page, Fiesta Topeka, and Instagram that we, post
Gotta do it
updates
this
and
day and
everything.
age.
I
Gotta be all
know, but
over there.
you think of the people that don't have social media
Yeah.
or maybe people that just don't like to
Right.
watch the news,
Yep.
maybe you go back to those old school flyers saying,
I
hey,
know.
Fiesta Topeka,
They
hang
do
out.
work. It's
Yes.
amazing. People laugh about it, but I'm like, they still work.
Yes, and something incredible too is that talking about the community coming together for Fiesta Topeka, we have so many great sponsors that are located all over town.
And
So
that helps.
it does help a lot. They're able to learn about Fiesta Topeka, their employees, maybe their employees are bringing their families to Fiesta Topeka. Just to name a few, Blue Cross Blue Shield is one of our sponsors, and they do a great job every year providing so many volunteers for us. And we love that. So they're great. We love it. So that's just one that comes to mind off the top of my head. Of course, we have a great partnership with the city that helps us have that parade route and making sure just like everyone is safe.
Yeah.
Topeka Police Department did a phenomenal job this year, like they do every other year, making sure everyone's safe at Fiesta, everyone's safe at the parade. TFD was out there too. So if the community comes together, if you don't know about Fiesta Topeka yet, hit me up and I'll give you a ride.
Right.
So
You should at least know
We'll
about
carpool.
it. Even if you don't go, you should at least know what it is at this
Yes.
point after 90 years. Because it really is an identifier of Topeka. I mean, it is one of those events that, I don't know, might be the longest running event in Topeka.
Over 90 years.
Next to the Civic Theater, which I think is doing 90 years, which is kind of funny. Those are coinciding. But I mean,
Yes.
if you look at things in Topeka that have been ongoing for that long of time, it's not a long list. And so those things become part of the city's,
DNA.
the
Yes.
DNA and the fabric of the city itself, and which is great because I think you need those kind of identifiers that people recognize are a constant. And so
Absolutely.
it's absolutely one of those.
And at Fiesta Topeka, there's truly something for everyone. You have children, we have an amazing kids corner. Obviously, we also have a carnival.
Yeah.
You like food, you name it, we
Right.
have it, right? Just entertainment, or if you like art, if you like to run, we have our 5K. We also, have our parade, and dancing, of course, is a big part of the Fiesta Topeka. So there's really something for everyone.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I think taking that spirit and infusing it in some other things is part of the challenge that the city has, so we can get some other traditions that don't compete with each other, but so that all throughout the year you've got something that people can
Yes.
want to
forward
go to, because
Yeah.
that's what keeps people wanting to live here and come here and be part of the community is ongoing events like that people look forward to every
Yes.
season.
Exactly. I think there's so much to do in Topeka.
Yeah.
And people that say, there's nothing to do, go on Facebook, right?
Right.
Watch the news. I mean,
Right.
there's always something that you can get involved in, something you can support, something you can attend. Just thinking over my past weekend, Room Sweet Home at Christ the King
Yep.
Catholic Church. Such a fun event.
Yep.
It was just fun to see so many familiar faces.
Yeah, 'cause they had the music and they had stuff for kids and fireworks. I got a few complaints about the fireworks.
Oh
but
my
that's all right.
goodness.
It's in my actually my house is right over there, so I was
Okay.
fine. But every year I get a few calls from people. Why you do?
Uh-huh.
Why do you let these fireworks go off? And I'm like, well, they're fireworks. What do you mean to do?
So, but I love it.
No, it's great, and that's a great event that people look forward to every year. That thing's grown too.
It has.
It's a good
There
thing
were
they have
a lot of people
There
there.
were. It was packed.
Yes. Some of my favorite events in Topeka, the German Fest.
Yep.
Have you ever been
Yep.
to the German Fest?
Fest is great.
Lots of
Yep.
fun. Lots and lots of fun. And then, of course, Rome Sweet Home. Trying to think of a few others.
Well, you're right. There is a lot, and people
Saturdays.
people do forget that there's something all the time. And yes, I think we get pigeonholed because you're right. We don't have. I mean, yes, Chapel Roan's not coming here. She's going to Kansas City this weekend, right? But that makes sense. That's Kansas City. It's a million people metro area. We're not that market, but we're the next level down in a lot of ways. We do get all those events that come through, whether it's the event center or the Civic Theater or a lot of art groups in town and theater groups and musicians and little bars that do music all the time, and then all the community events. So, but people do forget because it's not always what I'd call the big sticker things, but that's fine. If you want to go to those, you can still go to those and then come back. We're not that far. Go to
Drive
those and then
safe,
come back home.
back.
Yeah. But know that, there's a lot that goes on in this community.
There
So
is.
That is one of the big pushbacks I give people. I'm like, look, if you got complaints about the city, fine, and the roads and all that's fair, but don't say there's nothing to do here. That's not, And I think the biggest thing that comes from is probably that group that does say it'd be nice to have more of like an entertainment type district. That's fair. And I think we can cultivate that. Whether it's in the downtown area or somewhere else that people can go with some more mix of bars and restaurants and a little different off kilter retail. But that's really the only biggest one I get. But hey, I get it. If you're a Washburn student and you're in that 21 to 30 range, you're like, yeah, where's my little entertainment district?
Yep.
So we need to work on that one. Yeah, but that's okay. We'll get there.
Exactly. There's so much though. Noto, they have that new establishment that's
I need to go check that
fun.
out. Yeah.
Trying to think of what else.
I don't know the name of that. It's horrible because I just saw that. I know.
Tonics and Tunes.
Tonics and Tunes. That's it.
That's what it's called. It was at the tip of my
I know.
tongue.
I can see it too.
Yeah, so that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It does. Just
Yep.
good, wholesome, safe fun.
Well, yeah. And so I think if we get more of that, that'll really help the city.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you're going to be here long term, then obviously you have a job and you're doing great over there. But I mean, what are the areas you hope where you'd like to see Topeka grow?
Okay.
I mean, as someone who's saying I've lived here long enough, I'm committing to the city. This is where we're gonna be.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's things you look at and say, I still wish we could do this a little better in this town and get improve it a little bit.
Yeah, I would say East Topeka.
Yeah.
East Topeka. I would love to see some of the work that's done in other parts of the city being done in East Topeka as well. I would say community, but I think the word I would use is family for East Topeka. I mean, everyone's always watching out for each other. I'm sure, how they say, like, back in the day, you could come to my house for sure. I'm sure you could do that there too. So, I would like to see that part of town evolve a little bit as far as, maybe fixing some of the roads. I know you get it a bunch.
Well, no, but I don't think I've always said we have got to develop, call it whatever you want. Maybe we'll call it a development plan for lack of a better, right? Where we do break the city down in quadrants of the West Topeka, the Southwest Topeka, and I'm sure I'll leave some out, but Oakland, North Topeka, East Topeka, not in an effort to segregate them from each other, but a recognition that they each have certain qualities based on the history of those neighborhoods and who's there now and what's happening, so that when people come to the city or they come in for economic development and they say to us, we're thinking of bringing this to Topeka, the knee-jerk reaction, of course, these days is, well, West Side, of course, whether it's Wanamaker or that part of town, because that's where stuff is. But we know, being from here, that you'll sell just as many, whether it's hamburgers or ice cream or whatever your retail establishment, on the other side of town too. But if we don't have that broken down into some sort of development plan that we can show them, these are the demographics of this community, this is the history of this community, this is the economic base of this area, so you can build it there. And if you want to pass, that's a choice, but at least we can do the work to show them there's value in investing in that part of the city instead of this, well, I see that one street looks like it has a lot and the other doesn't, so therefore I'm building it there. Yeah, but that's not helping spread things out across the community. And so I think that's something as a city we can do to address what you're talking about, to identify that East Topeka has its own identity, and you can build that there too.
And there's so many local businesses in East Topeka.
Right.
So many incredible restaurants. I'm getting tired just talking about it.
I know.
So
I haven't eaten yet.
Yeah,
so.
my coworker and I, Kevin, will go down to East Topeka for lunch some days. We're like, okay, where are we going today? You know, just incredible food. When you're there, your family. So we enjoy it a lot. We eat all over.
Right, but that's you know, I can't make businesses do anything.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying I want to, but I can at least provide them the resources to guide them in certain directions. And I don't think we do any of that. I think we fail that a lot in the city to give them that, because East Topeka would be. There's some places. I mean, the example I always give is, hey, I got 2 Freddy's a mile from my house, almost on either end. Cool. I don't need 2 Freddy's a mile or 2 miles from my house on either end. I guarantee if they built a Freddy's in East Topeka, it would be doing just fine, right? You know, and so that's a small example, but those are the kind of examples I give. Like, build some of this stuff everywhere around town.
Yes.
Invest in those areas, and so we are in pockets, but but that's when you do need to lean on the small businesses, because their growth is critical.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't think we invest enough, and we give a lot of different things to larger businesses, but we don't invest the same in the small local folks who are like, I've been here for years, you've given me nothing, but I'm still plugging away, doing the thing, become neighborhood institutions. Yeah, so we need to keep supporting those.
Absolutely. It's their livelihood. I mean, people that have these local businesses, whether if it's a funeral home, a restaurant, a retail store, these are the people you see in your community. People that you see, you know, at the store, people that are your neighbors.
Yeah.
So it's important to support them when you can.
Well, and I want them to be here for over 100 years. I mean, one of the reasons...
They make Topeka great.
Well, but one of the reasons that Brendan Mathena has been here since 1916 is because they've understood people are going to live... Like, we have to have some kind of succession plan over time so that the business can be part of the community for 100 years. And I think that's the thing. A lot of these businesses you're talking about, they get started by a family, but then the kids go off and and then you realize, I'm getting old, I got to retire, but nobody wants to take this over. And so I talk a lot with the small business community about, what's your succession plan? Because I want this business to be here for the next 50 years. You're not going to be, hate to tell you that, but we want the business to live. And so I think that succession planning is critical to helping those neighborhoods too, so that they can keep moving forward and not all the time losing businesses while new ones come in, just because people get old and retire. And
another thing though that, you know, helps with that succession plan on the other end, on the consumer end, is the trust. And that's what we've seen, you know, at Brendan Mathena, is just the trust that people put into us. And it's not something we ever take lightly. And just like if you were to go to a restaurant, you know, the trust. If I, you know, have a great experience, I'm going back, right? So, I'm a repeater though, so
me too.
I have my little places. That are
These are what I like, and you don't do me wrong, and I'll keep coming back.
My pockets of peace. So, just the customer service too. I mean, incredible. They know your name, they know your order.
You know, it's great. So it's important, and that's
is.
why they're true neighborhood businesses. Excuse me. All right. Well, have we forgotten anything or not talked about anything you wanted us to talk about? Or
I think we've hit on a lot of things. Lots of fiesta, which is fun.
Well, that's good. Fiesta's great. It's like I said, it's an institution in this community. The more we can talk about those institutions, the better. Because
there's so many great cultural festivals too.
There really are. There was a India Mela this past summer, and that's kind of that's only a few years old, but it's grown already. In its short time, so it was fun, and there are, and I think those are important. I mean, and I think some of our, like the Visit Topeka has really tried to support those, because
they've been such a great partner.
Those people live in this community, and they need an opportunity to celebrate their culture and expose it to other people, so the rest of us can be like, wait, what is this? Oh, I've learned something new.
People can learn.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. Education.
Yeah, that's half of it. You just walk around, and the nice thing about most of those festivals is, the folks who are putting them on and the vendors, they're not afraid if you ask stupid questions, right?
Exactly.
They're like, hey, what is this? I don't understand. They're like, no, I'm glad you're here and you're asking the question. It's a safe space to be like, okay, I don't understand what is this dance? I have no idea. Somebody explain it to me. They want to do it. Like, no, thank you for asking and for being here. That's why we do this, is so that we can teach other people, you know, a piece of our culture. And So that's always the fun thing about those festivals.
It
Most people
is.
there don't mind if you're like, I don't want to sound like an idiot, but what is that? No, it's cool. You're good, man. Thanks for asking.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
They'd rather you ask than not and ignore them
Mm-hmm.
than show up. So that's good. I'm that guy who asks all those questions like, hey, I know this may sound stupid, but what is that? And they're like, all right, thanks. All right, well then, I want to flip the spotlight from you to
Okay,
me. As I
perfect.
tell everyone on this podcast, I ask every guest to bring some questions, and I don't want to know what they are before you ask
Yes.
them to my own detriment. But here we go.
Okay. I thought really hard about these, so I wrote
Good.
them down. Okay. So the first one, Fiesta Topeka has been a tradition in Topeka for over 90 years, right? So as an elected official and, as, hopefully a leader in this community, how would you help preserve and grow events like Fiesta Topeka? So other cultural events that celebrate our heritage.
Yeah, so I think a couple things. Obviously, something like Fiesta Topeka is locked into where it is for obvious reasons, right? Part of where the neighborhood is, part of the tradition of it. So it's not going anywhere in terms of moving it around. And now that we have Evergy Plaza, that's opened up some opportunities for others to use that space. I do think one of the things we can do as a city, though, is to help those festivals that are trying to attract different people and expose themselves, is move them around a little bit.
Okay.
And help them facilitate that so that it's not always just in the same spot every year. We can help, hey, here's a good spot over here. Someone's willing to give you the space, and we still have some shopping centers that have areas where they could do that. But I think moving those things around when you can exposes more people to it, because the people who are going to come anyway are going to come regardless of where it is.
Exactly.
The goal is, as we talked about, how do you get people who otherwise would never have left their house to look out their window and say, oh, that's just down the street this year. Well, now I'll go. Because if they come once, it doesn't matter where it is the next year. If they enjoyed it, they will then go to it again. And so I think that's one way we as a city can help if people need to facilitate. But I think the second thing is we need to be willing to do what we can to help them, right? So that's with some of it's just administrative garbage, but it's a reality, right? How the permitting goes, how the
Yes.
approvals go, how the design of the area goes, how we're going to help close off streets. We need to not be difficult about that. We need to be able to work with any group that wants to put those on and say, yes, that's our job as a city, is to help you cultivate your event and provide the support you need without being a pain in the you-know-what and making it too difficult so that organizers are like, we're never doing this again, not in this city, right? Because that can happen, and that government can definitely get in the way of that. And I think the last thing is you just help promote it. Help spread the word across the city so that people know, hey, this is happening. This group has put a lot of work into this. It's going to be a great event. Now you have to show up. Because half of that is when people say there's nothing in Topeka, it's like, yes, there is. You just don't go. And so if something's not successful after a while, it's because you poo-pooed it, you never went, and then you said nothing ever happens in Topeka. Self-fulfilling prophecy. So I always get on people a little bit like, try it once. And if you hated it, fine. But 9 times out of 10, they're going to love it. And then they're going to want to go back every year.
Yes.
And maybe even join in and say, hey, I can make this better. Great. Join the board, join the committee, join the group.
Come
They're
roll
welcome
burritos.
for help. So I think that's how a city, those are some various ways a city can help
Okay.
people cultivate those events.
Great. So events like Fiesta rely heavily on volunteers, community support. So what would you do as elected mayor and an elected official to encourage civic engagement and help more people get involved in traditions like this?
Yeah, I think a couple things. First of all, do it yourself, right? Don't, not do as I say, not as I do, right? Yeah, don't do that. Go do it. I always tell people, whether it's been as an employee or as anybody else, I'm like, don't ask people to do that which you won't do yourself, right? So first of all, if you get out there and participate in some of this stuff and can show people, I'm not just asking you to do it. Look at me. I'm here myself, helping all these different groups and volunteering where I can and offering my time. That goes a long way with people because they see you doing it. They're like, well, if he can do it, hell, I can do it too, right? If that guy.
Yeah.
And so that's the first step. I also think it's helping them make those connections, because I do think there's a lot of folks out there who are looking to help in some capacity. And then sometimes they'll say it and you blow them off. You're busy. You're like, hey, if you ever want to, hey, I can help with that if you ever need help. And then you forget. And then it's like, you got to follow up, but you got to make those connections. So you work with the group and you go out in the community. And when you're out and about, you tell people, hey, I've talked to this group. They're looking for people that seems to fit what you're trying to do. Let me connect you folks and make those connections. I think that's a critical piece, because someone who's, whether I'm a councilman or a mayor, you're out in the community all the time. So we're meeting different people that those organizations may not come into contact with, but there's definitely people you can identify. Hey, I think they would be good together. Let me see if I
Some
can marry them up.
collaboration, of
Yeah, let me see if I
course.
can marry up these personalities and what they were
Mhm.
interested in. So I think you have to pay attention. You just have to be aware of those needs from the one hand, which means communicating with those groups on a regular basis. What do you need?
Uh-huh.
Who you're looking for, and then when you're out in the community, helping them identify those folks. That's also how you get a lot of different people, because people aren't always wrong, and this is not a knock on all the wonderful people doing wonderful things, but we have 125,000 plus people in this city. We don't need the same 100 people always being on all the committees and boards, right? We need to reach into those other 120,000, 5,000 and be like, "Hey, how can I help you?"
Yeah.
People need to be invited. We very much have this mentality like people are just going to flock to your group and want to be a part of it. And there's reasons they don't want to do that. They feel out of place, they feel awkward. Especially if it's a cultural event and they're not always part of that culture, but they think they can help, they don't feel comfortable. They're like, "Well, I'd like to help, but maybe I'm not." And it's like, no, they want everybody. They want you. And so I always tell organizations too, you have to be willing to make the invite, a one-on-one personal invites to someone and say, "Hey, I heard you might be interested. Come check it out." And then people will be responsive, but there is a reticence among people just because they're shy or they're not sure if they'll fit in, or that they're like, "I'd help, but no one's asked me." So I remind organizations too, you have to make the ask.
Yes.
And not just big asks on social media. Like if you see someone personally say,
Uh-huh.
"Are you willing to help?" So that they feel like, yeah, okay, they want me.
Yeah.
So I think that's how you cultivate.
It's
that.
important. It is. So a big part of Fiesta Topeka is bringing together people of all background. We kind of talked, people from all over the city come,
Yeah.
people from out of state come. It's a big gathering place, like a big family reunion. So how do you see events like Fiesta influencing the way Topeka builds community and belonging in the future?
Yeah, I think 90 years. Well, no, 90 years is 90 years is a good start because it shows that the city has embraced it
Absolutely.
as a general rule, and that's a good start from that. And we have Topeka has a relatively, compared to other cities in Kansas, I guess, with a few exceptions, we're up in that higher percentage of cities that have a Hispanic, Mexican population compared to other cities, and so which is great. And so don't run from that. That's part of our identity as a city. And so there's no reason not to tell people, yeah, this is part of the makeup of our city. Nothing wrong with that, folks. Like that's just, that's part of who we are. And so I think it's taking that model and showing other people that, hey, this model's worked for 90 years. So don't run from it. Like go learn from that organization and go learn from what they've shown people that if you do it long enough, you're going to get a great mix of people from all backgrounds who want to volunteer and participate and come to the event and spend their money down there and hang out and just sit out there as they often do late in the night, listen to music and hanging out together and drinking a little bit. There's a little drinking sometimes down there.
Maybe. What's your favorite memory of Fiesta Topeka?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think. So, well, there's a couple. One, I don't know it's a favorite. I will tell you, years ago, when first time I ran for office, there was a horrible rainstorm, and everybody
gosh.
out there had set up stuff, and it was one of those nights where then the wind came in and not just my stuff, but and blew everything. So that's not a good memory, but it was one of those where we're all helping each other. We all went in the church and waited till the storm, and we all went out and helped pick up everybody's stuff and put it back together, which itself was a good sense of community. Everybody's out there cheering because then the wedding passed and the Fiesta could open, but everyone's like, my stuff's everywhere, I gotta find it. And so we were working on that. So I wouldn't call that a favorite memory. I really just think every year when we went down there, because you go down first for the food, like you said earlier. You go down for the food.
And what's your food of choice?
Well,
at the Fiesta?
the tamales are always, because you don't get them, with a few exceptions, if you know the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's not an everyday item you go into most restaurants. And they just have, they're like, oh, tamales. You have to go to the right place who makes them. And the Fiesta was always that place every year. You could be like, I know I can get a good tamale down there. They're going to have them, So I think that was always what you'd go down there for to start with. And then you just eat everything else that you could. But so I think part of it was just the fact that we'd go down there as a family and do it as a group and hang out and eat the food. And that was part of the family experience. One of those things you'd go to on a regular basis with your family and be a part of.
Every July.
Yeah. And I think that's what these events become for a lot of folks is, feed into that. Like, yes, this is something else you can do with other people, and it is part of community and socializing and family time and all those things you feed into as a community that make people think is important.
And it becomes a tradition.
Well, right. Yeah. And you look forward to it. Like,
Every
yes.
year.
And you mark it off. Like, I got to go to Fiesta, and I got to go to this, and I got to make sure I go to this. And so, and everybody has their own likes and dislikes, but you get enough of that stuff and it fills out, and then people are pretty happy in the community. So, you know, not all of us want to go down to, they do the Tap That Topeka, which has now become a big, people love that. It gets packed and great. That's not everybody's thing, but for the people who love it, that's a big event with music and hanging out and socializing, and good for them. Like, so I think that's what people need to find is their own kind of niche, but you have to have a lot of those for people to find something they like, so that you're touching on all the. So yeah, I think the model of Fiesta Topeka is the model to live by for a lot of these organizations in terms of, you know.
Well, consider this your personal invitation.
See, I told you
to come and help out at Fiesta Topeka.
See, I don't take my advice. Don't do as I say, not as I do. Right? No, it's great, and
Bring your family.
I will. Yeah, no, and I will, because I had a good time.
Good.
I met some great people when I was down there this year.
Great.
It was fun, and you know, people. I need to learn a little more Spanish, but that's okay.
Me too.
I'm
on Duolingo.
I need to learn enough. I don't tell people at this point, I need to learn enough so at least I understand it, even if I can't speak it. That way I know, are you talking about me? Or at least, what was the joke? I at least want to understand the joke, even if I can't speak it. I just want to know why you're laughing, because I feel like I should be laughing with you. So outside of that, I need to work on my Spanish a little bit. But I took some Spanish in college. It did not stick. Here's the why. Here's why it didn't stick. You cannot take a college class at 7:30 in the morning every day because you're not going to pay attention. I know this from experience. And it was the only time it would fit on my schedule. And I had to take a language because I was a journalism and English major. And 7:30 was the only time. And so I'd get on the bus, 7:30. You can't. No. First of all, there shouldn't even be a 7:30 a.m. class in college. Let's just, every college out there listening, why you even have 7:30 a.m. classes? Come on, guys. But outside of that, so I think if I'd taken at a better time, I would know more Spanish.
Maybe.
That's my excuse. That's my total excuse. It was all about time, not the class itself. So money well spent, Mom and Dad. I still got the credit. I passed.
There you go.
Right? I passed.
You earned it.
All right. Well, anything else? Anything other questions for me, or burning desires to get at? All right. Well, one of the things we do is I always have an email of the week. Maybe it's sticking to my pages here. Come on now. People listen, like, what's happening? I can't get the paper out of the paper, people. I always ask the guests to read it, and then we'll talk about it.
Alrighty. Dear Councilman, I email you and other council members sometimes. Thanks for being responsive. But I am not always sure other council members are reading my emails. Also, do they listen when people come down and speak during public comment at meetings? Thank you.
Yeah, I get this question every once in a while. It's because I know not everybody responds to every email. I try to. I mean, even if it's just, hey, I got it. Thanks for sending it. So at least they know I actually read it.
Of course.
You know, mostly I try to answer a little better than that. But I do think it's important everybody realizes, because when you send off these emails to the council, if you get no response, you're like, oh, well, forget those people. They didn't even listen to me, you know. But I do tell people, I think a lot of my colleagues do read them, even though they may not always hit that, hey, thanks button, you know, even if it's simple back. So I tell everybody, emails do matter. They do get read more than people realize. And even if not all of us read everyone every time, enough of us read them on a regular basis, the collective takes over. And then I think, you know, you get 4 minutes if you come down to council. So the way we do public comment is you sign up, it's at the end of the meeting. You get your 4 minutes, but it's not a back and forth. And so sometimes people are going to want to ask us questions, but we're not allowed under our rules to like get into a conversation. So
they want to be acknowledged.
Well, they do. So we just have to listen. And so then it's kind of always weird. Like, so is that true? And then there's no response back, and then they just sit down. So then I can see why if you're saying in public comment, you're like, these yahoos didn't hear a word I said. They were all just staring at me, which is true. We are just all staring at you, but we do hear that. And what I try to tell people is it's a collective issue. So first of all, sometimes just if several people come down and talk about one issue, it was important for us to hear to know, oh, this is an issue I didn't realize. There are also times people come down and they mention stuff we didn't even, first time I hear of it sometimes, because I didn't get an email or a phone call. And so I tell people, yeah, even though in that moment it felt like we didn't hear, we did. And then we follow up with the city manager, whoever, and say, what is happening over there? How did I never hear about this? And then the other thing that people don't realize happens, because you don't see it in the moment, is when you sign up to speak, we ask for your email and phone number. And most oftentimes, it's not uncommon if you've come to speak with an issue the council person of your district or even others will reach back out to you then, whether it's a phone call or it's an email, but you don't see that in the meeting. So people think, oh, they just ignored that guy or gal. And you're like, no, a couple of us actually emailed afterwards or called afterwards to follow up. You just didn't see it in the meeting. So I tell people it does matter, even though there are times, totally get it. I'm sure it seems futile as heck. You're like, I just spoke and they just stared at me and we all just sat down.
I mean, that's nice to know that council, the council is acknowledging them, whether it be a follow-up email. And that's, not something I see by watching that Facebook Live.
Right.
But, to know that, it says a lot.
Yeah,
that
so
you take the time to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so I think people need to know that, because otherwise it is frustrating to think I came down there, I gave them the business, and nobody even helped or cared or followed up. And so it happens a lot more. It doesn't happen every time. Sometimes people do stand up there and you're like, oh my gosh. But, but then you tell them, you're like, okay, I don't know if that's a real problem, but we'll acknowledge it because it might be. Now, I do tell people we do have different public comment rules. If you just do general public comment at the end of the meeting, there can't be any sort of conversation. However, if you sign up to speak on a specific issue, you can actually, our rules do allow a council person to say, hey, let me ask a follow-up to something you said, or that doesn't happen a lot, but our rules are slightly different for that. So I tell people, if you come to speak on a specific issue, we can actually engage you a little bit if you have a real question or you want to talk. Yeah. I don't think council people do that a lot because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to open Pandora's box up here. But
wow. Even like scrolling through social media, one thing that I just think is really sad is just a lot of the negative comments, right? We've talked about everyone has different opinions.
Right.
And it's okay to have different opinions. Absolutely valid. But I think at the end of the day, it's how you treat people, right? And some people are just not very kind on the internet or in person or whatever the case may be. So I think that, it breaks my heart when I see, people talking negatively about, council people or the mayor, whatever it may be, because it's their first time in this position. Yeah. It's their first time dealing with this issue maybe. So just giving people grace, right?
Well, and I get emails sometimes and 90% of it is not nice stuff.
I'm sorry.
Partially that's the job. Yes. I mean, there are times too where I've responded to people like after a couple back and forth, like, I'm not going to keep responding to you if it's just going to be name calling without, but here's what I do tell everybody. Somewhere in that email is a real frustration or problem or concern. And so over time, what you have to try to do, at least make the initial effort, is say, okay, a lot of this negative is coming from, there's a real frustration buried there somewhere. And when you see it, just respond to that. At least make the effort to say, I'm going to cut through all the name calling and the other mean stuff, and at least try to address what their problem or their real concern or their question was first. Now, if after that their follow-up is the same old and you try a few times, at some point it's okay to say to somebody, and I have before, look, I'm here to help you. I will work with you. I will even have the tough conversation with you. But I'm not going to resort to name calling or belittling you, or it's not going to help this conversation. At some point, it's not constructive for either of us. So if at the end of the day we've hit a threshold, you want to go out and then call me, fine. That's your prerogative, and I'm really not going to get too worked up about it. But I'm the person trying to help you in this instance, or at least make an effort to answer. So let's try to be respectful about it before we resort to the name, And so, but I think 9 times out of 10, once you do that, people are, they responded to me. They weren't rude back, because it's real easy. Yeah, because sometimes it's real easy. Your first draft of that email is not going to, you're like, no, take a breath. They really have a real problem buried in there. Yeah. So can I help with that real problem? And if I can't, can I direct them to somewhere that can? And so people are appreciative of that. But yeah, you have to push some of that aside sometimes and be willing to say, okay, here we go. Let's not worry about it.
Yeah, there's hard discussions.
Because the truth is, people are elected officials on every level. Our levels of receptiveness are very different. And so when people say, I feel disconnected from government because they just don't respond to me, that's a very real thing, because it's it's a reality. You have a lot of elected officials who do not respond to people, who are not responsive, who ignore some of those concerns, who aren't dealing with issues, who aren't going out in the community. And so we get lumped in together because why wouldn't you? Right? So when people say things a lot like, I can't believe the council did this, I'm like, well, actually, I voted differently, but the nuance isn't in your comments, and I get why, but give me a little credit on this one, right? And you can't fight the internet. So, I'm not trolling it, being like, no, I voted against that, or I voted for that. Don't be mad at me. That's futile. But when they email you directly, it's okay to say, I agree with you on this one. In fact, I was the one councilman or two who said, heck no, we shouldn't do that.
Yeah. So with that and, running a campaign, how do you take care of your mental health?
That's a great question. Family helps a lot.
Okay.
I try not to dump it on them because I need their mental health to stay sane too. But I say it a lot, and I think people do say it a lot when they're in these positions, but it's absolutely true. Like, without my wife being a stable rock and helping with things and understanding some nights when I come home, like, you need 10 minutes, right? Yeah, just give me the 10 and then I'll unload it, or whatever that, like, and letting me spend an evening doing these kinds of things or going to all the meetings or being flexible with her time and understanding that takes half the stress off of it. Having someone at home who's on this journey with me, because I wouldn't do it without her. The first time I ran for office, that was a very real conversation. Like, I would like to do this, but as God is my witness, I will not do it if it's going to be uproot what we've got, whether it's our businesses, our life, to get, like, that's not worth it. And she was like, no, let's see if we can make this work. And, so you have to have that. You can't do it oh, it's going to work, honey. I promise it'll, She's like, no, it's not. Because then you've already started off wrong. So you have to start the journey there and being in lockstep, because that takes off half the stress. I know that I can go do this and things are taken care of, or she's fine with it. She's not mad because I didn't come home till 11 o'clock because that meeting went on forever and we talked. She's like, I get it. This is what we signed on for. And it has to be a we, not an I.
Absolutely.
And so that's half of it. Half of my mental health and is not worried all day, every day about, oh my gosh, is my family upset? Do they know I'm gone? Oh my God, this stinks, I think the other half is, you have to have some people you can talk to at times who have done this. Not necessarily current people, but whether it's former council people, former elected people, who at least you can sit down with every once in a while and be like, oh my gosh, can you believe what I put in that way? And they can pull you back in and be like, put it in perspective, man. It's okay. I survived it, see? And so that helps. You have to be willing to have some people. And so I think those two things just keep, and then you do have to take time for yourself. There are times where you're like, I should be doing something right now. But you're also like, I'm not. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to watch this movie for 2 hours, even though I feel like it's a wasted 2 hours. Shouldn't I be doing something? Respond to emails, out of the meeting. You're like, no, you actually need to just sit here and put the world away and watch this movie, or whatever it is, or read this book for an hour, and that's hard to do sometimes. We all think the world revolves around us. It does not. Like, believe it or not, I tell people, believe it or not, the government was here before I became a part of it, and it will probably be here when I'm no longer a part of it. And once you understand that, you can say, you know what, I'm going to go out of town this weekend with my family because things will be fine when I get back on Monday or whatever. But that's hard. Like, that's because then even when you're gone, you're like, should I check my email? No, don't check your email. No, but no, put it down, turn it off.
Yeah.
So you have to do this. So I think with those couple of things, but it really does start with if you look, you're about to get married. The best advice I give to people, besides when people say, how's your marriage work out well? And I say separate bathrooms, which, look, I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of truth to that. All right. I'm just tell you right now. So, all right. But it really is, you do have to view it as a team. Yeah. You really do, because you can't just think, well, I'm going to live a certain kind of life, independent life, and they're going to live independent. It's just going to be great. It's not. You have to be a team, and you have to put full faith and trust in that other person, and just hope that powers you through. And I think it does. It has, at least in our marriage. And so hopefully she will keep being my partner. The we is still good. Yes. And that was the conversation even running for mayor. I said, look, I won't, again, the same conversation. Like, yes, although I'm already elected and on the council, being mayor is an even different commitment, but I'm not doing it if you're not. And this time my son's 12, and we included him in that conversation. Like, hey, I missed stuff already. I mean, before I came here, I was coaching his soccer team. So, I mean, I really try hard to stay involved, but I also miss stuff. That's just a part of it. And so he was part of that conversation too. And I straight up said, if you're not good with this, tell me now, because again, none of this is worth creating issues in the family or the future. it's not, we'll go find someone else who'll be, so it can be Mary, and we'll support them. And so that was very much a family conversation,
Okay.
so that it really is we are in this together as a unit, not just as a dad wants to do it and husband wants to do it. And I guess we have to live
Yeah.
with it, because
Yeah.
that would be horrible. I can't imagine what that would be like.
So we touched on a little bit about mental health. Do you give yourself grace?
Oh, probably not as much as I should.
Why not?
I don't know, because I think that's a great question. I think I internalized. I'm not good about asking for help.
Okay.
I'm one of those.
Mhm.
I'm one of those who's like, I can handle this. I can internalize it. Now, having said that, through the years, my family, I've gone to therapy a few times.
Mhm.
Like, we did premarital counseling,
Mhm.
and we've taken our son with some issue. Like, so I'm not opposed to, if I really think if there comes a point where I'm like, I need to go talk to a professional, I tell everybody, go talk to a professional. Like, don't ever, that is not a stigma anyone should carry. If you need
Mhm.
that kind of help, go get it, because it's valuable and it has worth. But I'm still one of those. I'm one of those who's like, I'll power through this, or I'll figure it
Mhm.
out. I don't want to put that burden on anyone else, so I'll get it worked out. And I think that's what the piece you have to get over a little.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that's what happens. So I don't think I give myself enough grace, because I'm afraid, like, I just got to deal with it. I have to deal with it. Nobody else can help me here. When
Mhm.
people around me are like, dude, we're right here. Just
Yeah.
ask. And I'm like, and I know that they would help me, and I know they're not gonna. So that's the thing. It's not like I'm surrounded by people who
Mhm.
aren't ever gonna be willing to help. I'm just that personality. It's like, I'll take care of my own stuff,
Yep.
and I'll help everybody else. And so you got to get. So I think that's why. I think it's more of just trying to get over that hurdle in life.
Okay.
But yeah, you have to give yourself at some point, because you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna
Mhm.
screw up.
You're human.
Yeah, and I've told people, even decisions I made on the council, I'm like, I can look back now, and for 6 years, and there's a couple votes, I'm like, oh,
I'm sure your mom let you know.
yeah, she did, yeah, and I'd be like, well, maybe that wasn't the right call in hindsight. But you also have to be willing to admit that.
Yeah.
Tell both for the public, to
Mhm.
let them trust, like, I'm not perfect, nobody is, and I don't have a time machine, so all I can do is power forward. But
Mhm.
give yourself grace in those decisions. Same with, you have to guilt plays a little role in it at times, like when you do miss a kid's thing, and you're like, oh, and the kid's like, I don't care, Dad, I didn't even care if anyone was there. And you're like, okay, you have to, like, put that in perspective too. Like, am I making a bigger deal of this than the people around me? Are like, man, we weren't even thinking about that. You've been carrying that around. We didn't even care. What we cared about was that, oh, I was worried about the wrong thing, right? So that's why those conversations are
Yeah.
important. So the people around you can be like, that's a stupid thing to worry about, dude. Can't believe you've been carrying that around so long. And when you hear that, you're like, oh man, it feels so much better. So conversations matter. You
they
gotta have
do.
them. And people don't like to, because they can be tough, or they can be awkward or embarrassing. But maybe it's age too. I'm getting to the age where I'm like, whatever, let's just put it out there and see what happens. When I helped raise my niece, and she'll tell you this day, I think we used to have these conversations where we'd sit down and be like, okay, this can be one of those conversations. It can go quick if you're willing to have it, or we can prolong out this embarrassing, awkward conversation for as long as because you want. And so she got to like, let's just get it over with. Let's go. Let's have it. Right. So I think that's where you got to get with people. Like, we're going to have this conversation. It's how we're going to have it.
Mhm.
We can have the short, quick, productive version, or we can have the long, annoying, embarrassing version for all of us. So,
Yeah.
just deal with the problems.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad that, you were able to be so vulnerable and answer those questions, because
Yeah,
vulnerability
it's-
matters, mental health matters. They're all very important things that everyone deals with every day. And it's just finding a way
Yep.
to cope,
Yep.
to heal, to, move forward. That is what makes life so important.
Well, it's tough. And I think there's a lot of different jobs,
Yeah.
including, I'm sure, yours. You deal with people in
Mm-hmm.
terrible situations who are emotional and going through things. Anytime we have public safety people who are seeing horrible. I mean, there's things as a council person that come in front of us that are horrible. They're the
Yeah.
worst of the worst things, ranging from domestic violence to issues with homelessness that turn into very tough
Yeah.
situations. And you go home and you're like, oh my gosh. And if
Yeah.
you don't find an outlet to deal with that, if you try to internalize all of that, it's going to eat you up to a point that's
1000%.
horribly unhealthy.
Absolutely.
And I think you've got to realize, I have to deal with this stuff, because it's tough stuff, and that's fine. Like, that's part of the job. But yeah, you don't want to carry that stuff around with you, because it's not just destructive to you. Eventually it becomes destructive in the
Other
decisions you
people.
make and the people around you. And so you're starting to hurt other people, even unintentionally, just because you're not dealing with those
Yeah.
issues.
I like to think that I do prioritize my mental health and try to take care of myself so I'm able to take care of other people.
Yeah.
Of course, you're right. We do see a lot of sadness.
Yeah.
But it's how we navigate the situations. I mean, sometimes we're in the back there crying too, along with the family
Yeah.
and grieving, because we're human and we can do that because it's okay to feel things,
Yeah.
right? But making that moment matter and making it a moment that you can look back on and say, yeah, it was okay to cry, right?
Yeah. Right.
It's
Yeah.
important to do that. Just
Yeah.
let it out. And I 1000% agree with you with the partnership, with you and your wife, because there have been days where I come home and it's just been a dark day.
Yeah.
And just, venting it out is what keeps me
Right,
sane,
right,
right?
right.
And just having that partner to lean on, I can't thank Anthony enough for being there for me for that.
I think a common phrase in my household is, between my wife and I, is, okay, don't judge me, but I need to say some stuff. And you're like, okay, great.
Yeah.
That's why this is a safe
Yeah.
space. Like, let it out and tell me what went on, and let's get through it.
Yeah. And having those safe spaces is important, but also being a safe space for someone
Yeah.
else. It means the world when someone puts your trust in you. So
Yeah. So that's, and I think people, they worry about not showing that side of it, but you better. Your life will be better. That's all I can tell people is your life will be better. And if you don't have that outlet in your life, there are people in this community who can help you.
absolutely.
And it's weird to sometimes, I know, to go to a stranger, but we have organizations and
So
other
many
people who
resources.
won't even blink an eye when you say, I need some help. They'll be like, great, you came to the right place. Let
Yes.
me do it. And then you'll find that sense of relief will be unbelievable in your life, and it will really make a difference.
Yeah.
Well, on that note,
Okay.
wasn't that question about public comment? Look at us. All right. Well, anything else you want to say or add before we sign off here? You don't have to. I just always ask every guest. Anything else?
Be kind.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you for being here. This was
Yes,
great. I
thanks for
really
having
appreciate
me.
it. Yep.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.